Your dad must love everybody else to get you this pulpit. It was the ricketiest pulpit I ever seen in any church. Was the one in this church. Every time I want to come in here and put screws and glue and everything else last time I came here. So that's good to see. Amen. Well, amen. Well, it's good to be saved, isn't it?
Amen.
That's good to be in church.
Yes,
that's good to see me. All right. Well, 2 out of 3. I just give it a try. Open your Bibles, if you will, to James chapter 1. When we preachers preach or teach, you guys are not always interested in what we're going to say. I don't mean that like because you're not right with God or cold-hearted or anything like that. Sometimes it doesn't apply. I was at a pastor's conference one time, and one guy got up. 3 guys spoke one morning. One of them pastor spoke on how to secure a building. Well, that's good, but we don't even have a house, let alone a building, so we didn't need that one. And then the second one talked about how to rear your children, and those messages always make me want to kill myself. And then all the way through that, I keep thinking, oh, that's where I messed up. Oh, that's why they're like that. And then the third one was talking about how to get a second man. And I'm not even looking for a first one, actually, but so nothing applied. Nothing applied. But what I want to talk to you about this morning does apply. If there's anything you need to hear, this may be a blessing to you. And it may save you some grief. It really may. James chapter 1. Verse 12 said, "Blessed is a man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say, when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed." Some of you remember the days of LSD. Of course, verse 15 is God's LSD. "Then when L, lust, hath conceived, it bringeth forth S, sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth D, death." I want to talk to you this morning about temptation, because everybody will experience temptation.
Yes.
Now, you probably heard this. You probably heard somebody say, "Hear about so-and-so? They fell into sin." No one falls into sin. You don't fall into sin. You ever fall into anything? I was looking at a piece of video. It was a security camera from like a corner gas station type deal. Probably the back room is no wider than this pulpit. There's a lady up working like this, and the camera's up here, and it's shooting over her shoulder, and the only way into the basement was a trap door in the floor. Well, she's got her back turned. A guy goes down the basement, opens up the trap door, goes down the basement. She takes a step back and gone. I mean, she fell. All right? Here's what's never happened. No guy ever walked out of a bar drunk going, "Whoa, I was walking by that bar, and I just fell in." So no one falls into sin, but I will tell you what you will do. You will fall into temptation.
Yes.
And by falling into temptation, I simply mean this. You're going to be minding your own business and suddenly find yourself tempted. I was flying someplace, maybe last year, and this lady got up to walk away, and at the gate, and as she walked away, I don't know where she had this money, but she had some money, quite a bit of money, a bunch of 20s, folded over. And as she got up to walk away, they fell out on the floor. She's walking away from her. Well, you got to act fast, And so I did. I lifted my feet and went. Well, Romans 8:28. No. I called her over. I said, "Ma'am," I said, "you dropped something." But what I'm saying is you can be minding your own business. Oh, well, that's never happened to me. You ever been tempted to gossip? You ever been on the phone and had heard somebody's name and all of a sudden you went, "Well, I need to tell them that." That's called temptation. So you can fall into temptation, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about, how to deal with temptation. I want you to go with me to Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6. We're going to look at an interesting prayer here. Now, this is historically known as the Lord's Prayer. We know it is not the Lord's Prayer because the Lord never prayed it. This is the disciples' prayer. This is the Lord teaching His disciples how to pray. Now, I don't know how many of you were Roman Catholic before you got saved. I was. And I said a bunch of man-made prayers. Act of contrition and angel of God and Hail Mary and all other stuff that is just a bunch of trumped up, made up words that couldn't get out of this room spiritually. One of the prayers we said was the Lord's Prayer. But you know, the Lord's Prayer is not a man's prayer. I mean, when I got saved, somebody said, well, you can't say that anymore. And I said, why? They said, well, it's vain repetition. Well, here's my question. How can the words coming out of the mouth of God be vain? Okay? I don't understand that concept. In fact, I call this an economy of words. I don't think you could say as much. I don't think anybody here could say as much as the Lord said in his few words.
Oh, yeah.
You say, well, you just say it over and over and over again. Okay, let's check. How many of you people have been praying for somebody that you care about that is lost, and you've been praying for 15 or 20 years that they get saved, and they haven't gotten saved yet? Anybody like that? Okay, well that sounds like repetition. And since they haven't gotten saved, it sounds like it's vain repetition, and I don't think you're going to quit. So I don't think this is a bad prayer. It says this in verse 9, the Lord speaking, he says, after this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven. I never get any farther than the first two words, and I am overwhelmed and impressed with my God. I am impressed with our God. Think about this. We have a creator that can pile dirt up, breathe into its nostrils breath of life, and it becomes not alive, it becomes a living soul.
Glory to God.
I don't know if you ever saw anybody doing sand sculpture. That is very interesting. That is impressive. I saw some guy one time, you know, he did like Moses from the waist up, got the 10 Commandments, hair flowing. I mean, he had this sand, he'd spray with water, and they'd sculpt it out. I mean, it was tremendous. And when he was done, you know what he had? Sand.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he started with. That's what he ended with. God started with dirt and ended up with us.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking away from it, but I say it this way. Pretty good trick.
Yeah.
And if he stopped there, it would have been enough, but it wasn't enough for him. Then this creator, after giving this dirt, a living soul, went back to heaven and let the only son that he had die, so that now, you know what's happening? This piece of dirt that is talking to you, as it is speaking to you, is on its way to heaven.
Yes.
And I'm going to spend eternity with my creator.
Yeah.
Now guys, again, I don't know about you, that would have been enough for me, but it wasn't enough for God. Because during that transaction, that divine transaction, when you got saved, when I got saved, you got on your knees, according to John chapter 8, verse 44, a son of the devil,
Yes.
and got off your knees a son of God.
Yeah.
So guess what happens, guys? I talk to my creator. Now, what could I call my creator in prayer? I could call him creator. I could call him master. I could call him Lord. I could call him God. I could call him almighty. I could call him holy. I could call him wonderful. I mean, there's no end to the good things and true things I could call him, right? But you know what this dirt ball calls its creator when he prays?
Yeah.
I call my creator Father.
Yes.
I am impressed with my Father.
Yeah.
All right? Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Then the Lord says, when he teaches us to pray, he says you ought to say something good about God when you pray. You usually don't. You say something good about somebody when you're going to borrow $5.
Yeah.
Or when you want something, you know. Hey, you're losing weight, aren't you? I mean, oh, really? We say something good about it. But look, there's nothing wrong with saying something good about God. I had somebody say, well, isn't that flattery? Well, I've always thought the kind of flattery was a compliment beyond reason. What are you going to say about God that's good? That he's going to stop you and go, well, that's a little over the top, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say enough good, or you can't say too much good about God, correct? Look at the next verse. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Don't get me wrong, guys, but I will guarantee you, probably no one here, when you pray, none of you say to God, I hope you get what you want. Isn't the reason we go to God, I hope I get what I want? Right?
Preach.
But he said when you start out, say, I hope you... In fact, if you think about it, part of the reason we're here is so he gets what he wants.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. I think I know the answer to this. How many of you am I talking to a group of people, whether a group or individuals? When you sit down to eat, do you bow your head and thank God for your food? I figured you did. Okay. Let me ask you this. How many of you asked him for it? Look at verse 11. Give us this day our daily bread. Well, since we're asking for daily bread, sounds like this prayer is supposed to say every day, almost like repetition. But guys, he said we're supposed to ask every day for our food. I can tell you, it's not that you're cold, backslidden, hard-hearted. There are 4 reasons why none of you ask God for your food. Refrigerator, freezer,
Yeah.
pantry, grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
I've not been in your homes, but I'll bet you got more food in them than you can eat in one day.
It's something.
Now for a Baptist, that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah.
But and if your freezer, refrigerator, and freezer and pantry get low, you're not going to ask God for food. What are you going to do? You're going to go down to the grocery store and restock. But if this recession, I've heard it said that every grocery store only has about 2 weeks supply of food. That's the night before the food riot.
Yeah.
After the food riot, it's got 48 hours of food plus
Yeah.
bullets flying. But if this recession really goes south and our country comes apart, you do realize that the grocery stores are going to be empty. And it won't take a long time before your refrigerator, freezer, and pantry are empty. And I'll bet you about that time, everybody here starts going, I think we need to ask God for our food.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound boldy? But don't you think you'll think of that about the time 300 million other people think of that? And I've always said this, I really don't like crowds. So I ask God, we ask God for our food every day. I know you look at our trailer, our bus out there, and you go, ooh, I'd like that. Well, we'd like a 3-bedroom home. So if you want to trade, come talk to me, okay? Keep this in mind, I can park my home in your driveway. And it doesn't have a big refrigerator or a big freezer, and it doesn't even have a pantry. But it doesn't matter. We don't trust what we have in stock. Every day I ask God. In fact, every day I pray this prayer. I don't think you can say what is said in this prayer with any better than the Lord said it. Lead us not, verse 12, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Look at verse 13. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Because of the daily food, I think this is a daily prayer. Then you ought to pray this. I'm going to give you a recommendation. I recommend that everybody here start your day by saying these words or something similar to them. Lead me not into temptation.
Yeah.
Or you might add this. Please lead me not into temptation. Okay? I do add to the word every now and then. I say please. But here's what's happened. Everybody's done this. Everybody, let's see. You have, you all saw the high school science project where you take a piece of paper like this. This looks very similar to typing paper, but it's not. It's actually copying paper. You'll get that. Anyway, and you sprinkle iron filings all over the top of this, and then you put a magnet right on the center.
Right.
Now, when you put that magnet under the center of this paper, those iron filings don't do 2 things. They do 3. All of the iron filings within the sphere of influence of that magnet they just go and pile up right over the magnet, correct?
Yes.
Those are the filings that gave into temptation. And then outside that sphere of influence, those iron filings are laying there like a Baptist at the beach. They don't even know there's a magnet in the neighborhood. But right around the edge, you know what the filings are doing? They're doing this. You ever see them just kind of standing there? You know what those are? Those are tempted. They feel the influence. They feel the pull, but they haven't given in yet. That is temptation. Here's a valid prayer. Every day, ask God, don't lead me into this magnetic field.
Yeah.
You better remember something, guys. God never told you to resist temptation. He told you to avoid it. All right? And don't think, well, I want to be tempted so that I can get strong against it. You can't get strong against it. By the name temptation, it tells you that you are being tempted. You might narrow your sphere down, but it doesn't matter. Once you cross into that, you are in temptation. So I advise you every day, say, Lord, lead me not into temptation. The second thing is, don't lead yourself into temptation. You know what you're tempted to do. We're all different. If we were, and I'm not into this, I'm into this public confession and tell everybody what's going through your mind or what your last 7 days have been like. But if everybody here got up and said, hey, let me tell you what I was tempted to do this week. I know what you're thinking, but some of us would laugh.